Well, that was quite a buildup. My dad, when I was a kid, would tell me, you can't change people. People are who they are. I thought it was a pessimistic view on life. So I always thought, we can always find a way to be better. And I found my way into psychology. So yeah, for the last 30 years, I have been studying psychology in businesses. And one that I went deep on was the psychology of influence. What does it take for one person to kind of change the mindset and behavior of another person? The first discovery was tremendously important because it seemed to explain very well why people who are good at influencing people, what differentiates them from people who are great at it. And why is it that people who are already great at influencing struggle to do it consistently at their best? More importantly, I discovered the antidote to this thing that holds us back from being at our very best. Since '94, I've kind of made it my, life's mission to bring this work into the world and to keep finding new indications for it. And one of the indications is the selling context. One customer claimed that this helped them re-secure the largest telecommunications outsourcing deal to the tune of $5 billion, enabling them to exceed their profit targets by 130%, their revenue targets by 120%. And a pharma claims that the application of what you're going to learn today helped them go from number 4 to number 1 in customer experience within the course of about 18 months. It's definitely been kind of tried, tested, and proven. All this stuff, it's backed by research. I do believe that it works and will work consistently. So I ask you to have an open mind about it, but also ask you to have a little bit skeptical because you've got a lot of experience. And the only reason you should put this to work if it's going to work better than something you're already doing. So really put it to the test. Feel free to kind of question me, challenge me. I want to make this really an open conversation between us, you between each other as reps, and you with your table coaches. Today I could promise, and tomorrow, 15% bump from where you were, which is no small thing. The way we're going to get there is by focusing on 3 things. 1, self-awareness. 2, skills. And 3, actual solutions. Yes, I said actual solutions in a training program. So this is not going to be some abstract thing where I'm talking at you. It's going to be very practical, and we're going to apply everything you learn to your real situations. I think you will come out of here recognizing some hidden strengths you're not fully tapping into. Well, I still haven't lost that childhood belief that people can evolve and people can get better. Almost every single case, I see that people have kind of potential within themselves that they haven't fully tapped into. There's a lot of good stuff in people's left columns. Not everything is good. Not everything we think and feel is like, oh, that's awesome. If I could just say that, it's going to all work out. But what I do find is there's more inside of you. Great questions you have, great things that need to be expressed. And you've got good instincts for that, but too much of it gets stuck in that left column. And if you could find a way to leverage more of your thinking, more of your instincts, more of your experience in these conversations, more of your good ideas about what to do, I think you're going to be in a lot better position. And it's not just about a technique. It's about using a lot of the stuff that you already know to better effect. That's number 1. Number 2, you're definitely going to learn a methodology that's going to help you unlock your potential and your abilities. And I'm not happy if you could talk about it. I'm not happy if you're just self-aware. If you can't produce new behavior in the moment, under pressure, face-to-face with these customers, it's not skill, it's just knowledge. What we're going to do is do a lot of work on your real-life case studies so you can pressure test the newfound capabilities and this newfound self-awareness under semi-real conditions. So you can decide for yourselves, is this worth it, or should I keep doing what I was doing? And then, of course, we'll build solutions to the challenges that you've brought and other situations where you think you've struggled to move the needle. So this discovery I had in 1994 about the thing that holds good people back from being great at influencing. That explains why people who are already great at it struggle to be great consistently. I mean, how many of you had the experience where you're just doing a great job with certain customers, and you do the same set of things with a new set of customers, and it doesn't work out so well? Okay? So I want to explain why that happens. How many of you heard this term Model 1 before? This Model 1 thing seems to be the dominant operating system that is driving human behavior. We've seen this as a global phenomenon. 20,000 cases across countries, companies, and cultures. In every single case, this thing is holding people back. So let's take a look at maximize comfort, minimize negative emotions. Why is it important to attend a level of comfort in these conversations with your customers? To be concerned about creating negative emotions into these interactions. Why does that even matter? When we piss people off, they tend to not to want to talk to us again. So it's worth attending to, particularly when you fought so hard to get access and you finally get it. You're like, I don't want to lose it now. But what happens when we over-index on comfort? That we try to remove any remote possibility that they might get upset even a little bit. What limitation does that create?
You're not seen as valuable. What value are you bringing if you're just being nice and asking about their vacation and things like that?
Right? Win, don't lose. And I actually think this drive to win, what drives you to be better than you were yesterday. On the other hand, if you're too oriented around winning against your agenda versus the doctor's and the patient agenda, what's the potential downside there? When the physician attributes that to a sales rep, what happens for the physician, would you reckon? They run away, gotta go. Thanks for the roast beef. I'm out of here. So let's talk about control. So listen, let's make no mistake that whenever you're kind of taking upon yourself to help somebody make a better decision for their practices, for their patients, we are trying to exert some influence. And influence is a form of control. But again, we have to watch out for over-indexing on these things, right? So if we, for example, are too dominant in the conversation, what's the potential limitation there? They shut down. I'll ask you another leading question. Does the shutdown always kind of show up in they just kind of run away from the conversation? Or does it sometimes show up in they kind of politely go along with it? And it's this tough bind you're in because they're being nice. You feel like you got to be nice. You're grateful for the time, but he knows or she knows. You know, you both know what's going on, but nobody's talking about it. Appear rational. The language is a little funny because the term rational. So let me be very clear. The opposite of this will not to be suddenly become irrational and just totally emotional, like left column, just dump it to the right column. Focus on the term appear, fill in the blank. So just think about yourselves. Have you ever felt like you're talking to somebody where you feel like whatever they're saying isn't quite matching with what they really think and feel? What happens to you in those situations? Interesting thing about Model 1 is has this way of kind of keeping you blind to it. The right intention in mind, but yet the behavior doesn't seem to really match that intention. We struggle to live up to our principles. We struggle to ask the questions that are in our minds. We struggle to express the things that could be very valuable thing because Model 1 doesn't care about any of this. Why is there this kind of contradiction between what people say they want to do and what they seemingly know to do, but then we get eyeball to eyeball and something different happens? I mean, I don't know about you, but I am a genius in the car. I know exactly what to say. I got it all figured out. Einstein's got nothing on me. And then I roll into the conversation and I talk to the person, and then where the heck did all these good ideas go? As long as there's like feeling like there's a little bit of threat in the conversation, it doesn't take much. But when you're starting to feel a little uncomfortable, you're a little worried about the result, then this bad boy kicks in. We have one theory we espouse and truly believe and that we're committed to and that are aligned with the kind of the nobler side of ourselves, our bigger selves. But then there's this other program that just kicks in for us that doesn't care about any of that, called Model 1. How many of you feel like the way you've been trained has inculcated some of this into you? Just quick show of hands. Yeah, I think this training starts real early. We all have a Model 1 origin story. I'll tell mine here just so you can connect with your own stories and understand where this programming came from. So we come home from the 35th wedding anniversary party of Nana and Papa, and my Nana asks me, how did you like the party? And I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know. What's wrong? I go, well, I didn't like it. Why not? Well, because you kept calling Papa an idiot all night, and I don't think you love him. Okay? Kind of cute, right? That was her response, right? Not so much from my mom. And so my mom pulls me over to the side of the room and says, what are you doing talking to your Nana that way? I'm like, well, what do you mean? You always told him to be honest. She's like, not that honest. So what am I learning? Because as a little kid, I'd say everything I thought and felt. I was a mild sociopath. Best time of my life. It was fantastic. No consequences. But what's the lesson I learned, or lessons I learned there in a Model 1 frame? Say what people want to hear, and what lesson am I learning from that in terms of Model 1? Maximize comfort. For God forbid, don't upset Nana. And appear rational. So cover up what I'm really thinking. She would have preferred I said, perhaps even somewhat of a British accent, like, oh, it was quite nice. Win, don't lose, I learned from my father. The early 70s were still pretty groovy time. It was like a hangover of the 60s. The coaches had the sideburns. I had socks that went like all the way up here. And so the coaches would say things like, it's not whether you win or lose. Right. My father would hear the coaches saying that, and he'd pull me over to the sideline and say, you know that coach stuff your coaches say? That's a bunch of nonsense. You're paid to win. I'm like, I don't even get an allowance. Show me the money, baby. And then moral control was a little more subtle. Sometimes it shows up as, don't question my version of the truth. At about 12, 13 years old, I started questioning a lot of things my dad had to say. And then he famously said, would I say it if it weren't true? That's why you understand how that does your head in as a 12-year-old. I didn't know anything about therapy then, but I was sure I was going to need it. And then you go to school. How many of you felt pressure to get good grades? Show of hands. Yeah. But you better play nice with Freddie in the sandbox, right? Because maybe you'll get called to the dean for the 11th time. Personal story, we'll leave that for later. So you better appear rational and cover some of your real feelings and thoughts up, right? Because otherwise you'll get in trouble. And then you enter the big bad world of work. How many of you feel pressure to achieve your objectives? Show of hands. So this win, don't lose thing, it keeps being reinforced. We better get along with each other. Now, by saying this, I'm not saying that the organization is trying to reinforce Model 1. Knowing a lot of your leaders, they do want something other than Model 1. But gosh, when you've had this program into you for so long, then that becomes the lens through which you see the world. And then you tend to distort it in a way that reinforces Model 1. And as individuals, we get stuck in a Model 1 trap more than we would like to. Then we create Model 1 interactions with each other. We feed off each other. And then we create organizational systems that respond to things that are a little threatening in a Model 1 way. So become the dominant paradigm. The upside of this story is there is a way to break out of it. The antidote, guess what the antidote to Model 1 is? It's not like in Model 2 you can't walk in with your agenda. Because we're going to send you to Zen Buddhist camp and suddenly you'll just be empty mind all the time. You have an agenda, but one, the agenda will be more transparent. It won't be hidden, but you're also much more focused agenda of others too, and trying to serve their agenda. So there's a marrying of these two things. Model 2, you could argue, it's more emotionally intelligent. The name of the game for the rest of the day, we're going to try to work with you so you can recognize to what degree Model 1 is getting your way, move it out of the way, and replace it with this Model 2 way of thinking and behaving. I'll give you some tools when we come back from break that will help you kind of bootstrap your way into it. We'll apply it to another case study like we did the last one, but let's first take a break.